Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Man, you look so dapper on a Friday. I thought it was casual day. What is this? Is this upside down under principles that you dress up for a Friday?
This is exactly right. I'm reversing the trend. I'm upsetting the apple cart. I'm throwing ambiguity into the mix like we always do. And this is Casual Friday for me.
Okay. I want to see what you look like when you really dress up. Or maybe I shouldn't. I've seen you with a poop hat, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure where this would go. Scratch whatever I said. Welcome everybody, Two Chaps, Many Cultures Friday edition. And can you believe it? This is the 25th episode.
Absolutely, that's great.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
Which tells us that time is moving too fast, even in Rona times. And talking about moving, there's a lot of moving parts to this show. You've seen the graphics that this gentleman over there is so gracious in producing. You've seen the moving times that we have. Sometimes we move it up and down. And sometimes, I mean, I'm cracking myself up over my corny play on words because moving means also in our world, when Brett and I reach our clients, they are about to move or have moved or have been moved. And many of our clients are expatriates or transferees. What other phrases are we using, Brett? Global employees. But it's not just the culture.
Globally mobile. The globally
mobile. I love that.
No, yeah. Which has that replaced the upwardly mobile? I don't think. Upwardly globally mobile, maybe.
Laterally mobile. In any case, moving people involves moving them and their goods, and there's a whole industry behind it. An industry that Brett and I are really friendly with because we serve the same clients. And well, Brett, why don't you introduce our very moving partner today?
Absolutely. But I got to play something first because this has got to be a bit of fun.
Oh.
It's not working.
This is going to get all right.
Enough of that.
What's up?
Mr. Cross. Okay, so I want to be super cautious about this because we've been flagged before. So this is dear YouTube.
Less than 30 seconds.
So this should be good. This should be covered by the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the DMCA. I'll look this up, folks. I'm not kidding. So there is. This was a fair use. So YouTube police, if you're watching, no copyright infringement going on here, right? All right, good. Glad we settled it. Welcome, Ben Cross, the person who likes to move it.
Hey, Christian, Brett, thank you for having me. It's so good to be here with you guys.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm a bit guilty of putting that tune in a few people's head that even commented in ahead of this. You're welcome, everybody. I like to move it. Welcome, Ben. Yes, the relocation specialist and the host, of course, his own wonderfully more popular show than this little show that could be eventually.
Oh, no.
Love and Relo. Welcome, mate. How are you on this beautiful Friday?
I appreciate it. I'm fantastic. I'm so blessed and honored to be here with you guys. And when I got the call saying, hey, we'd love for you to be on the show. First of all, you said two chaps. I'm like, well, which type, And I hope I'm dressed appropriately right now myself. So
are you wearing your chaps?
Well, I'm wearing half of them, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay. Let's keep the camera where it is. Okay.
Yes. Don't get flagged.
Very good. Well, you never know with these Texas boys. So, Ben works for I'm going to let you explain this. So, for those of you watching and don't know what the relocation industry does, in a nutshell, if you had to explain it to laymen or laywomen, what is it you do?
Yeah, so the relocation industry is all about moving the best and brightest people where they need to be to do the jobs they need to do, right? And so, you know, if you think about talent being the lifeblood of organizations, it's got to move just like a circulatory system, right? And it's got to go to the parts, the organs, the parts of the body where it's most needed. So if you have multinational companies and they decide that they want to go into a new line, bring an existing line to China or Germany or Brazil or whatever, and they need a plant manager or they need new R&D talent or whatever, they relocate those people to that part of the world to support that activity and to grow the business. And it's a really exciting, fun industry to be in.
So you drive the truck?
I drive the truck. Yeah. So people ask me what I do, and I do. I work for a moving company. And basically it's basically like this, right? And so one of these shows up to your house, and you know, hopefully somebody in much better shape than me gets out and packs everything you own. And so that's kind of just to be simplistic. I mean, that's what the moving aspect of it is. And people ask me all the time, what do you do? And I say, I'm a mover. And then they look at me and I'm wearing a suit and I'm overweight. And they're just like, how does that work? And then you have to talk about relocation. So,
but it's, I mean, I'm speaking from an outside perspective. To me, this sounds like a administrative and logistical nightmare for some, wet dream for others. Those of you who like to organize stuff and manage processes, that's probably a terrific job to have. For me, that would be the worst possible scenario. So you're the man that makes sure that not necessarily the trains run on time, but the trucks go to where they need to go with everything inside, and hopefully unscathed, right? So you're responsible for not only household goods, but you move. What else do you guys move?
Well, so moving is just one aspect of a relocation, you know, and I think it's important. I think it's probably the most obvious part, but I think it's the full life cycle or ecosystem of relocation is much bigger than just moving. And so, for instance, you have moving, you have the real estate, home sale, home purchase aspect, you have immigration, you have tax implications to all of this, right? Is it taxable? Is it not taxable? Do we then need to gross up this person's compensation to offset the tax hit that they just absorbed? To language, to culture, to make sure that they're successful at destination and where they are. I mean, so much. There's a service called DSPs. And DSPs, destination service providers, are the boots on the ground when you get to, when you get to Detroit from, Stuttgart, and you come over to Detroit, and they're the one that take you to, we call the Secretary of State. Some people call it the Department of Motor Vehicles, to help you get that driver's license. Maybe we'll take you to help you get to go look at what school districts are out there, to go look at neighborhoods. So there's so many aspects and what I call service verticals within the relocation experience. And managed relocation provides all of that under one roof to employees of companies. And so to create a kind of a cohesive employee experience, because it's such a disruptive experience. I mean, if they always say, right, it's moving, death, and divorce are the three most stressful events in people's lives, right? And so if companies aren't intentional about curating that process and making sure that it goes as seamlessly as possible, there's going to be such incredible amounts of friction that it starts to affect employee engagement, it starts to affect employee productivity. I mean, even to the point of how successful they are in that role when they get there and how long they even stay with the company. Mm-hmm. So there's all sorts of stuff that goes into it. But yes, I'm a mover. We put stuff on trucks, and that's very simplistically what we do.
When you were talking, I was reminded of this infographic that we produced for some of our clients over the years, and I've been asked in a webinar recently, where do you get those numbers from? This is an interesting graphic you put up there. So for those of you who are nitpickers and want to know the source of these numbers, this is a accumulation of data that I collected over the years from various relocation management companies, from accountancies all over the world who do the math on global reloads. So this basically illustrates to a certain degree what Ben just talked about. So we have all of these costs that an employer is incurring with expatriate talent, including the salary, that's the big blue chunk here. You have the travel costs in green. You have tuition, that yellow part, if they're moving or relocating with school-age children. You have the actual move, that's the red part. That purple part here is housing, whether it's rent or home purchase, or the delta between home sale and purchase in the new location. You have the taxes that Ben mentioned, that the tax, what did you call it, a tax slap or something like that?
Gross up.
A gross up. You
gross it up, right?
And then you have
I'm sorry, but the gross up is so important, because especially here in the United States, and I don't know what percentage of your viewers are U.S. based versus global, but in the United States in 2017, with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed, which reduced the corporate tax from 35% to 25%, and also increased the deficit quite a bit. But anyway, when it did that, it took away some of the deductions. And one of the deductions it took away was the moving expense deduction. So it used to be that if you moved for a job and you relocated more than 50 miles, then you could then write off those expenses against your taxes and get a deduction for it. Well, when all that went away, so now the cost of moving and the cost of many of those other services that you just showed on the pie are actually taxable to Americans now. And so now companies have to look at what that now, and now it's reported as income to individuals, which means now they're paying taxes of, let's say, just 35% or whatever. So if a relocation costs them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and they're paying a third in taxes, all of a sudden now that $20,000 relocation becomes $26,000. Then they have to basically give them another $6,000 to offset the tax. Anyway, that's my spiel on that.
I love that, because this just shows how sometimes when we talk about these topics, whether it's actually moving stuff or moving people and their mindsets, it's often viewed by the intermediaries that we deal with, Brett and I deal with, and probably you deal with them as well, Ben, at the organizations who are the pencil pushers. Forgive me if I'm being a little bit disrespectful here, but who are the ones who manage these transitions and are not in the trenches like the three of us are, right? So this is a huge talent investment that organizations are fronting on these global professionals. And yes, these are big chunks, and yes, the salary and benefits and all the salary related items and the cost of living adjustments that is coming out of an employer's pocket are significant. Yes, I'm not trying to negate that. However, what Ben, Brett, and I are doing is basically we're the risk mitigation, we're the risk insurance. We make sure that this investment in talent is actually paying you dividends, because you have a reason why you're sending people overseas, and you want them to succeed. And it's funny how I don't know if these numbers line up with yours, Ben, but the actual move accounts, according to the numbers that I crunched over the years, accounts to 4% of the overall budget for an expat assignment. Our language training, cultural training, destination services add another 3% total. So this is a small sliver of the pie compared to the whole cake here. And so the question that I always ask our clients is, well, how much is your pie worth to you? And if you're fretting over that little slice here, then good luck with the rest of your pie. Tissues are on us.
Well, I think that when you look at global mobility, you look at it as an investment, and you're doing it because you're not doing it as a cost saving measure. Typically, you're not doing it because you're necessarily in contraction mode, right? In your business life cycle, you're doing it because you see an opportunity in the marketplace and you want to seize that opportunity. And you have someone who's really bright, who understands how to navigate that opportunity and bring it home and make it rain. And you put that person where they need to be to do that. And so I think sometimes companies do get a little short-sighted. And now I understand, especially right now, right? We're kind of in an austere environment, but it never really recovered since 2008, despite all of the great economy here in the U.S. and then the economic stimulus of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which reduced the corporate taxability again from 35 to 21%. we've still in relocation felt under the microscope, I think, and we felt like our costs were always being questioned. But to your point, if you look at it like an investment, and you look at like how much is that Apple engineer who invents the iPhone, how much is that person worth to the organization, right? And there's people that aren't, that they're doing jobs like that may not be so prominent as the example I just gave. But there's people that are innovating and delivering just 10x kind of value to the organization. And I don't think, to your point, I don't think it's wise to skip the insurance policy or the cultural training or the language training or the thing that's going to make that person successful in their company, in their city of choice, and make their family take root in that city. Because, we all know the saying, at least here in the States, if mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right? And so we got to keep the family happy, right? So it's important to do this cultural training to care for the whole person. And I think cultural training, what you guys do and what you offer is one of the most valuable things and probably one of the most undervalued aspects of relocation and global mobility. A lot of times it's in the policy, but it might be skipped or it might be glossed over, or people don't really fully exercise the benefit. And I just think it's one of those amazing opportunities. I think it should be mandated. And I think relocation managers should be following up and ensuring that people are actually going through it, because I have a feeling once they engage with the material and they have expert trainers like yourselves, to engage with, I think they're going to see the value.
Well, I like the you said if mum ain't happy. I mean, there's more and more, of course, these professionals that are moving are women too, right?
Sure.
And,
if daddy ain't happy,
if the spouse ain't happy, right? If whoever your partner is ain't happy.
So talking about the spouse, tomorrow's just asked this great question. Is it when you bring in, and it's even part of what we do, is when we're doing cultural training, we bring in the spouse, we talk to them, we try and offer as much support for the accompanying spouse as we possibly can. So that in your field of work, of course, we're talking about the talent of the person that's going, but also the talent of the person that's supporting them. And they're often the ones that are, that are tasked with having to be there when the removers get there and to build these kind of lists of what to take and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And oftentimes it's a 2-income household, and that other professional, the spouse, is also talent, to your point, and they are planning to be successful at destination as well. And so if it's a career change, or if it's just with the same company but in a different office or a different outpost, I mean, they're still going to need the benefits of cultural training as well. So again, yes, I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious, how has COVID times affected the business overall? I'm not talking about your company that you're working for, but overall the pulse that you have on the relocation industry. What's been the impact that you guys have been feeling?
Yeah, so this is a question that comes up daily, right? As well.
Sorry to repeat that.
Hey, what are you hearing? Hey, what are you? No, it's not. I mean, no, it's a great question. It's just, I mean, I talk about this all the time, and so I feel like I got a decent pulse on it. And again, it really depends on what sector you're in. Are you a manufacturer? Are you in manufacturing? Are you in retail? Are you in hospitality and restaurant industry? Or are you in pharma? Right. I mean, so there's very different takes on how COVID has impacted relocation volumes by sector. However, if you're looking just like at a composite, what we're seeing is probably about a 40% decrease right now in relocation volumes for the year. And that includes the pre-COVID months of January and February. What we're also seeing is initiations have started to pick up again in August, which is typically the month where they start to tail off here in the United States, as people have kind of already made their plans and decided what they're going to do and are already on the way. Things are just starting to get initiated, which I think indicates a longer tail. And so we might be having steady volumes into September, whereas late August and Labor Day, depending on what part of the United States you're in, late August and Labor Day were kind of the cutoffs where you needed to be where you were going to be because your kids had to start school and things like that. I think that part of that also, which has eased that hard stop to the peak season, as we call it, has been the fact that so many kids are going to be schooling virtually in the fall. As the days and weeks pass by, we're starting to come to grips with the fact that it's going to be a lot of virtual and alternative schooling going on. And so I think there's less of a rush to get in place. And then people just have, a lot more on their mind. So that's kind of what's going on right now. I think some people were hoping that half of that volume that we were down would come back and we would end the year maybe down 20%. But because we're seeing kind of double spikes and things like this and potential secondary closures, and even people forecasting for tertiary closures in the fourth quarter, maybe a lot of colleges are starting early in order to be done by Thanksgiving because they're anticipating a December spike again due to like the Christmas holidays and stuff like that. So, I think that's where we're at. I think you're going to see this year being down 40%. I think this is probably, when it nets out, going to be the worst year in relocation from a volume standpoint in the history of the industry. But the good news is there's only one way to go. Right.
Yes, I'm loving your outlook, Ben, because thank you for this concise analysis, because to be honest, I haven't heard it as concisely put like you just did. So high five over the screen. And I disinfected earlier, so just making sure. Cool. I noticed, and because a lot of the work that I touch is people leaving the US or coming into the US, and a lot of out of the US bound assignments aren't happening because a lot of countries are not allowing US citizens to enter their turf. So I have a lot of folks sitting on packed suitcases or on unloaded containers waiting to get the go-ahead sign, right? So that would lead me to believe that once Europe opens up the floodgates again, then it's going to be a rush over there. So who knows what the third quarter will hold for us. Tamara is bringing up an interesting point here. Most expatriates here in Ireland, so just to give you some context, Tamara is a U.S. citizen. She and her husband, both U.S., living in Dublin. Most expats here in Ireland struggle with tax laws, especially U.S. citizens who have to report worldwide income. Do you have any resources for that?
Yeah, so they're struggling with taxes because it's a worldwide thing instead of the country thing, and that's interesting. Ireland has this reputation for being where people go so they don't have to pay tax, but now we're dealing with taxes over there, personal tax instead of company taxes. What we do in the relocation industry is we do business with a lot of the same tax accounting firms that you would know. The big four, right? The KPMG, the EYs, the Deloittes, right? And
the PwC, so we mentioned all four of them.
The PwC, yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to neglect your sponsors.
Pepsi,
and Arthur Anderson as well. So anyway, just kidding. But yes, I mean those resources I think are great. I think there's an association called Worldwide ERC, which is a great resource for relocation tax professionals. In fact, you can access their directory online for service providers. So if you wanted to look up a member and reach out to them, someone even maybe domiciled in Dublin, I would recommend that.
And aside from the big four, who probably do a tremendous job, there are a bunch of accounting firms that are versed both in North American tax laws and European tax laws. So I'm happy to share some names offline tomorrow if you feel so inclined. I'd be happy to share some of them. The big four sure are great. I've also heard that not always are the big four the best partner to deal with if you're not one of their typical clients, which means a big conglomerate. So if you need more hands-on, maybe a smaller accounting firm would help you better. So there's multiple avenues to go down.
Great point.
Well, I want to know, because I know a little bit about your story, Ben. So when we talk about relocation, it's easy for us culture people to think of international, global relo, but I also know that you do a lot of domestic stuff, and that you yourself have been moved yourself across the country several times. So tell the people tell those who are watching who may not be too familiar with the United States what it's like to be an American going from one place in the country to another place in the same country and it not being the same.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, at the first time I really the first time I really saw this or realized this was when I was probably 6 years old, and my mom moved me from Dallas, Texas, to New York, to White Plains, New York, Westchester County, Lower New York, and just as a little kid, I mean, I think I was in kindergarten or first grade or something like that, and just I remember then, I still remember this to this day. I'm like trying to meet kids, and we're standing there, and they're like, "Hey, do you like the Rangers?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I love baseball," and they were talking about hockey, and I mean, that is just a little thing, but that type of a disconnect seemed to carry, frankly, throughout my entire life, and I at the same time, I never really felt a part of the culture maybe that I was living in, even within the United States, and yet I felt like it gave me this ability to translate to just about anybody I met and find commonality with anybody. And I think that is the gift and the curse of being whether it's an expat or just someone that moves a lot, is that you're never truly at home, but you're never truly a stranger either, And so I went from Texas to New York, and then upstate to college where I met my wife, and then we moved back to Dallas, and then we moved to Tampa, Clearwater, and then we moved back to Dallas for family stuff, and then we moved to North Carolina, and then we moved now to Michigan, where I've been for the last 4 years as of this month. And it's been really, really interesting, living in a lot of different regions. I think that there's a lot of misconceptions about regions and cities and states within the United States, whether the South, the Northeast, the whatever. And, I think that when you get there, you realize what it is. And I think as long as you love people and you respect people and you listen to them and understand their story and their perspective, I think things tend to generally work out. But that's kind of been my experience.
So where do you feel that you belong? Do you feel like you belong in Michigan? Are you a Michigander? No. Can you point on the mitten where you're from?
No, absolutely not. I'm not a Michigander. I do live. Wait, wrong hand.
Okay.
Yeah, if you get the hand right, then you can point where you are, especially because nobody knows if you're lying. But I'm about right here. I'm just west of Detroit. In fact, in 2 weeks, my family's going to go up to Traverse City right here, and then up to Mackinac, which is up here on the island by this award. And so, no, I don't feel like a Michigander at all. No, okay. The food's terrible. The people are a little odd, and no, I don't quite feel like at home here. But that's okay. It's fine. I think everybody thinks I'm hot, so it's cool.
He called it. I love it. So
it's terrible.
What, New York or Texas, or New York or Dallas?
I think Texas to me feels more like home because my family lives there. It's the home of the Dallas Cowboys, which is America's team, and I mean, the food's there. I think from an American culture standpoint, I think Texas is severely underrated. I believe it's the best state in the union, and I think Texas is probably home, and I'll probably see myself there one day.
And I will not follow you down that path and say it's the best state in the union for food. However, it's pretty dang close. Every time I've been to Texas, the food was awesome, no matter what I tried.
What do you think is better?
Well, I'm a sucker for Italian food in Italy, so that's comparing apples and oranges. So what I love about Texas is barbecue. I love Houston for its food diversity. Haven't had any better Vietnamese and Cambodian food than I had in Houston. The Mexican or Texan or Tex-Mex food that you can get in Austin or anywhere in Texas is as authentic and awesome as it can be. So yes, I'm gonna follow you halfway down that path, saying yeah, Texas food is pretty dang good.
Texas is amazing, and that's why. And the thing is too, it's not just like one city. Like, so I'd say New York is the best city in America, in my opinion. A hot take. And Texas is the best state. And but I went to school upstate New York, and there's not much up there. So
You see here, Tamara wants to pick a fight with the Southwest, but it's all right.
Clearly need to go to, okay, you know, I'm going to take this fight. California, great. Okay, great food in California. The Mexican food, the Baja Mex, the fresh Mex out there, fantastic. New Mexico has the hatch green chilies, the red sauce. I mean, outstanding. Tamara, I'm not, you know what, but Texas just has a deeper bench. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm curious, Tamara, if you're still watching, how the bangers and mash treating you that you get every other day. So I'm sorry, but this turning
with a shamrock, put a whatever. She gave me the old whatever. Okay, whatever. Just kidding. It's all good. It's all good.
What was it? Whatever or something like that. All right, so Ben, this was awesome. To conclude the week for us here, thanks for taking time on short notice. That just tells you he's truly living the love and relo. So he gave us some love today. Make sure, everybody, if you haven't done so yet, watch Love and Relo. Ben, where can people watch Love and Relo?
So you can go to facebook.com/Love and Relo. You can find Love and Relo spelled out on YouTube. And then if you want to connect with me, Ben Cross on LinkedIn. You can connect with me. I connect with anybody. And once you're connected, you'll get an annoying push notification for the rest of your life telling you that we are live. And we do it every day. It's I think it's the only live daily show for relocation. So we have a lot of fun with it.
That's how we got to know you, because I had the pleasure of being a guest on your program. I've seen lots of people on your program that both Brett and I know from our work. So this is where the relo and the culture work connect, and I'm just happy to conclude the cycle of mutual support and admiration and love, people. It's Friday.
No, that's right. It's been so nice being with y'all too, and you know what? The cycle doesn't have to conclude. It can be more of a death spiral. We can just keep doing this kind of stuff. You know, ad nauseum,
a flywheel. Flywheel.
There you go.
Right. Well, what's that book, Brett? Keep it going. I'm looking for the book.
I prefer this part, right?
I think it's in that book, and I think it's in Good to Great. That's where the flywheel thing is from. So
Jim Collins. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Seth Godin calls it the ratchet. You ratchet. You keep going up and up and up, and hopefully you don't go down. But
or as Tamara says, keep going. All right. Well,
keep going.
We'll keep going in the weekend, and here's somebody who still can't get that ditty out of their head. So we like to move it into the weekend. All right.
You want some more? No, I'm not going to do it again. And I certainly won't try and dance.
Oh, I just got to bring this up too. DC is a great eating town, but nothing beats the tacos from my hometown in Southern California. All right, so here's a lot of opinion about food. That's how you get the weekend conversations going. Just pick a side, pick a food side, and start bashing each other. So, but what people will remember from this show, from this episode, is that Ben Cross publicly dissed Michigander food. So now we all know it. You don't go to Michigan for food. Maybe you go there for a good beer. I hear Grand Rapids is a great beer town, but don't go there for the food. So, oh no, was that are you?
No, the beer culture in Michigan, the beer is phenomenal. The beer in Michigan is better than the beer in any other state. Put that on wax there. That's better than Colorado, better than California. California per capita, maybe. But not per capita. I'm saying California overall, but Michigan per capita, best beer in the country, hands down.
Okay, that calls for another episode.
M43. Okay, we've got Drippa IPA is just the most amazing thing you ever put in your mouth. We got Founders, which is great if they weren't so racist, and then Bell's is phenomenal with Oberon, Two Hearted. I mean, it's just ridiculously good beer. So I mean, there's four right there. And
I'll raise you Creature Comfort Tropicalia, Sweetwater 420.
Sweetwater 420. Yeah, if you like IPAs from 2010, Sweetwater 420. It's a lovely, quaint IPA.
Come on, Brett, weigh in, because Brett hates IPAs. So
I'm not even with you. I'm still got my Polish beer, and I will hold on to it. In absence of the Aussie beer, right?
Yeah.
We're Tamara, give us a Guinness shout out. No, that's all right. So we covered all the beer bases for now. Cheerio to everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, and please drink responsibly. There we go. Here she is. Happy weekend.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.